Week 5 of the fantasy football season, and here's a few quarterbacks I have as sleeper options this week. The first guy, Teddy Bridgewater of the Miami Dolphins. So Bridgewater right now going to take over for now until we see when Tua comes back for this Miami Dolphin team. And he has good weapons around him, obviously. Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, who's having a great season, Edmonds and Mostert out of the backfield. And this week he's got a good matchup at the New York Jets that give up the 11th most fantasy points to quarterbacks on the season. So Bridgewater right now, he's available in 88% of fantasy leagues here. And last week at Cincinnati in relief to 193 pass yards, a touchdown, an interception, and 11 rush yards. So right now, if you're really in a pinch or a two-quarterback league or a deep league, I think Teddy Bridgewater could have a decent fantasy game, anywhere from 15 to 20 points. He's got the good weapons, he's got a good matchup, and he's a quarterback this week here I have as a sleeper option. The next guy's Ryan Tannehill of the Tennessee Titans. So Ryan Tannehill, surprisingly, over the last few weeks here, he's bounced back after that bad Buffalo ball game in Week 2 on Monday Night Football, where he got pulled in the third quarter, 117 pass yards in that one to win those. And then Week 3 versus Vegas, pretty solid game, 264 pass yards, a touchdown, interception, a rushing touchdown. In Week 4 at Indianapolis, 137 pass yards and 2 touchdowns. So right now, this week here, another good matchup on paper at the Washington football team that gives up the 7th most fantasy points to quarterbacks on the season. And right now, Tannehill's available in 80% of fantasy leagues here. So right here, it's a good matchup. I don't think he's going to throw the football a lot because they're going to get off to an early lead, I believe, behind Derrick Henry, who's gotten things going over the last 2 weeks here. But Tannehill, if he could get 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, it's a decent fantasy day, anywhere around 19-20 fantasy points. And I think it's possible for him this week. And the third and final quarterback I have as a sleeper option this week's Geno Smith of the Seattle Seahawks. So Geno, believe it or not, this season he's gone out there and he's put up numbers with 20 or more fantasy points this year here in 3 out of the first 4 ball games here for Geno Smith. So right now this week, not a great matchup in New Orleans, but he's definitely a guy to consider. It's an indoor game. He's got great weapons in DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Rashard Penny. We saw have a breakout game in Week 4, and even Will Disley in the red zone has been a big target here for Geno Smith. So right now, he got added in a decent amount of fantasy leagues, but he's still out there in 72%, and even in a tough matchup in New Orleans that give up the 7th least amount of fantasy points to quarterbacks on the season. I think Geno could go out there and put up another decent performance if you need a quarterback. So that's a few quarterbacks I have as sleeper options here for Week 5 of the fantasy football season.